I want to play two clips, one from Daniel Ray from an interview that we had on Cordial Curiosity's channel, Read, and also Mike Brown, an interview that I conducted a while back. And I just want to highlight what I view as bloviation, evasiveness, and defensiveness that I often get from Christian apologists. Not always, but these two examples are good, I think. And to Daniel Ray's credit, he did apologize for some of this evasiveness. So I hope you enjoy these clips.
All of that is normal. A photograph, a picture, the actual missile, a documentation, that's all normal stuff.
But my question to you, Daniel, and please, I want you to answer as honestly as you can.
I will.
Would you require the same amount of evidence for those two claims? I own a car and I own a nuclear missile. Would you have the same level of...
It would just depend on what I'm trying to get out of you, Doug. If you want to say, I would not put any stock in the car unless it perhaps had some bearing on what you and I would be doing in future interactions. The missile claim, it's just, it would depend on whether or not we're entering. If you're selling me the missile or the car, then I'm going to be vested in that, and I would want to see those things.
So am I hearing you right that you would believe me if I said I had a car and I said I had a nuclear missile, and if I gave you a photograph of a car, if that sufficed for you for the car, it would also suffice for you with the nuclear missile?
But in terms of, you said with the car that this is you, this is a picture of you with the car. And I think it would suffice for me. Okay, I have no stake in this claim. Doug says that's his car. That's his car. How is this affecting me? It doesn't seem to be at all. Unless you're selling me the car. Dan, I've got this car. Here it is. I would need title and more than just a photograph. So we're getting into the same thing. I own a missile. I own a car. I want to sell them to you. Now I'm personally invested in the kind of evidence you're offering. But it still would not be extraordinary evidence because documentation, photographs, missiles, and cars are all common things.
It's just greater evidence.
Yeah, I would think the ownership, the documentation of ownership on either object is normal. It's normal. It's just registered to Doug.
I mean, a nuclear missile is normal?
Well, you just said there were thousands of them, and it wouldn't be incredibly out of the realm of possibility that you could.
For me, an individual citizen, that would be normal?
Okay, but no, it wouldn't be. But the documentation demonstrating that you own it would be normal. A certificate from a government to the...
That's not what we're talking about.
Oh, well, we're talking about the idea of evidence being extraordinary, and I'm just saying that the evidence would be normal.
We're talking about the idea of evidence matching the level of evidence matching the level of the claim.
But the level of evidence would be the same. It would be a certificate of ownership. It's a piece of paper.
Yeah, Daniel, I sense you know where I'm going with this, and you're pushing back hard.
Yeah, I do. I've had this argument with a few people online, but not in person. But we haven't gone to the extent that I think we're going. But the evidence, to me, the idea of it being extraordinary is a subjective assessment made by the individual, not scientific.
Can you repeat back to me what the purpose of my question is? To
determine whether or not we agree on levels of extraordinary.
Rankings, right?
Rankings, yes. And so you and I can agree that you claiming that you own a missile is unusual. But the proof that would demonstrate that would be ordinary. It would be documentation that we would rely upon. Government authorized documentation of some kind that showed a transaction between you and the previous owner. That's normal.
Yeah,
I think that's where we disagree, because you would show me a piece of paper, you would show me the photograph.
I actually think you're being disingenuous right now, and I hate to say it, because I think in your life, you live your life exactly the way I'm describing it. When you hear a claim and it's sort of bizarre to you, and I think you would doubt it more and require more evidence before you believe it compared to a different claim that you don't find bizarre. I think that's fair to say?
No, because I agree with you that if you were to say you owned a missile, I would be instantly curious. But if I have nothing vested in it, Doug, I'm not going to press you for
Okay,
evidence.
let's use the word curious. Would you be more curious about the nuclear missile than the car?
Not really, because at that level, you've kind of subjected yourself to a level of something that's not normal.
I know we're probably talking in circles here, but I'm going to give it one last try.
Sure.
What type of evidence, if I made a claim that I have an interstellar spacecraft, what evidence would you need to believe me?
I really wouldn't pursue the question.
Is that an honest answer?
I mean, that's as honest. If somebody said that to me, I would be skeptical, and I really wouldn't pursue it.
What would lower your confidence? Anything?
What would lower my confidence? Well, let's start with you. What was the last historical research you've ever done? Of any type. And I'll make a comparison. When I was 23 years old.
Okay,
now,
so am I hearing you say that it's just impossible to?
No, it's not impossible. It's just when you start actually doing historical research, really doing history, these are just the realities that you find.
Okay.
It's just what it's like. You don't end up with 100% certainty. There's no outside corroborating evidence.
Okay, good. Mike, you just said it. You do not get 100% certainty. So my question is, why are you so confident then?
Well, because I know how history's done, and that's why I said what I said before. As certain as anyone can be certain about history in any way, shape, or form, as certain as I can be about anything, I'm as certain as Jesus' resurrection historically.
If there's only one source for a historical event, do you lower your confidence then?
No, what you do is you weigh evidence.
And I asked you the question, would you lower your confidence if there was only one source for a claim back 2,000 years ago?
2,000 years ago? Yeah, I'd lower the confidence.
Okay, so if we were to go through every claim in the Gospels where it's not mentioned in another Gospel, would you then lower your confidence in that claim?
I'll do you one better. I'll give you an illustration of what I'm talking about.
I believe the Eiffel Tower exists. The claim is
on a scale of knowledge and belief. Where is your confidence level in the Eiffel Tower? Is it a 10 or is it a 5? Is it where is your confidence level in the Eiffel Tower?
It's 9.999999999.
Based on what?
Based on the evidence we just listed.
Two eyewitnesses. You only have 2 eyewitnesses.
Yes. I would. You know what, Mike? I would be satisfied with 1. Even worse.
You would be satisfied with 1.
Yes.
Yes.
You know why?
Why?
Because it matches the claim.
And so, because it happens to match the claim, they happen to tell you what you already want to believe. You're willing to accept that. Golly, you're pretty trusting. Seems to me that you're pretty gullible.
Yeah,
you just believe what anyone tells you.
Yeah, Mike, I am. I guess I am, because if you told me you had a dog, I'd believe you.
Right. You believe me. You don't have any evidence that I have a dog.
But if you told me you had a fire-breathing dragon, I wouldn't. You know what's the difference?
What do you think is the difference?
One's a little rarer than the other. One's a little more extraordinary than the other.
Rarer, extraordinary. Explain those words.
I've never seen a fire-breathing dragon, but I've seen many dogs.
You've never seen the Eiffel Tower.
I've never known someone who's seen a fire-breathing dragon. I've never seen even.
You don't think I can find something that you haven't seen in the world? Did you go to the pyramids? You ever seen the pyramids in Egypt?
Has anybody else seen the pyramids? Has anybody else seen the fire-breathing dragon? Now, see.
Now, my point here, Doug, is if we're going to be skeptical, you have to apply the skepticism all the way across the board. And there comes a point where you can get to the point of irrational skepticism. It is a possibility.
Is it irrational? Do you believe it's irrational for me to believe in the Eiffel Tower, that it exists, based on 2 eyewitnesses?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But the skepticism card.
Hang on. Why?
You can play this game literally with anything, and that's what you're missing here, Doug. The game that you're playing, skepticism, it can go to anything. This is what Descartes was talking about. This is what Hume talked about. Is that this skepticism you can apply it to anything,
Mike,
and destroy anything. The question isn't, can you apply skepticism? The question is your skepticism warranted?
Okay, great question. Is my skepticism warranted if you told me you had a fire-breathing dragon?
Actually, I would like to ask the next question. And I would say, considering, I'm just not going to answer your question.
Why not?
Because I don't want to. And you don't get to run conversations. We're in a conversation together. So here would be my question.
Mike, remember what we agreed to? Mike?
Never done any historical research of any type, of any kind. And we're talking about historical research and how to understand it and how to apply it. Based upon the fact that you've never done that, what is the good cause for you to look at me and to think that I have not done my due diligence when it comes to history?
Okay, now, this is my perception of it right now, that you're getting defensive.
Okay. We're in equal boats here, okay? You are a person who I believe has, in every good conscience, done the work that you've done. I don't know why you wouldn't afford me the same courtesy. Mike, I believe you've done the due diligence that you have done.
Mike, I believe you've done the due diligence that you've done.
Great.